Good morning, people of Earth. Welcome to the fucking news with me, Deek Jackson, on the 14th of November 2020. The planet's fucked. It's your fault, and it's getting worse. I hope you have a good day, because today is as good as it's gonna get. And tomorrow will be just a little bit, not much, just a little bit, not quite as good in many, many ways. Let's get into it, because I actually have enjoyed a little nugget that came about in today's newspaper. Not because particularly I'm not aware of what's going on or what's coming down the pipeline, but because for a while I felt like Jack Sparrow in that film Pirates of the Caribbean, the one where his compass stops working. You know, he's got a compass, and this compass magically always points to whatever is his heart's desire. Now, briefly, it points at Keira Knightley. I don't know why. She looks like a horse on a horse's head on a stick. But in one of the films, it just goes round. Good morning, Shane. I do apologise if I can't read. My focal length is not tuned for the phone. But good morning, everybody that's tuning in. And now might be a good time to say the following. Audrey, many happy returns and a happy birthday. I will never do another happy birthday request ever. This is not Good Morning Britain. Thank you for, thanks for tuning in. I consider reading people's comments and emails to be a form of work. I've got drugs to take and guitars to play. I can barely bring myself to tear myself away from a bong and a Fender Stratocaster to do this. So thanks for tuning in. I don't really do requests, except of the musical kind when I'm busking. And even then, you know, it depends if I know it. So anyway, happy birthday, Audrey. On with the show. Yeah, the compass. Do you know, during this pandemic lie and the obvious deception that it is, I have somewhat been wondering, how is this a stepping stone to something? Yeah. How is this a stepping stone to something I think is happening? And so in today's newspaper, I believe I have seen the light. Lordy, lordy, I have seen the light. In that I start to see now with some some kind of clarity exactly what is coming. So let's just talk about that. And the tiny story that sparked this thought in me goes like this. Man fined £1,700 for no mask on a bus. Pretty fucking grim. A man was fined more than £1,700 after refusing to wear a face mask on a London bus 2 days in a row. What an evil man. He was among dozens of people fined at Wimbledon Magistrates Court. The court heard he provided no reasonable excuse for not having a suitable covering on a bus on the 15th of July, on the following day. Just a couple of things about this. Did the court provide a reasonable excuse for forcing him to wear a face mask? Is it reasonable to force people to do these incredibly personally limiting and liberty-robbing things on the basis that they need to give a fuck about other people and what they are potentially putting into the environment? Yeah? Do you see? And so it made me think, gosh, yes. Given that the planet is fucked, and for those of you still deep, there's still a debate about it. There's no fucking debate. There's no fucking debate about our reprocessing of the atmosphere and the consequences you are all going to live through, if you're lucky, as we spin through space on this re-engineered planet. You may be having a debate in your mind, but that's because you're a fucking idiot. So, let's fast forward, shall we, to a world very shortly appearing, where the coronavirus is a distant memory, and you wish you could live in Agenda 21. Your wet dream is to live in Agenda 21. You wish you could go back to a time when globalists were just going to control the expression of your thoughts as long as everybody went shopping for plastic shit they can't afford with money they borrowed from people who've got it all anyway. You wish you could live in that, because the future that's coming is something like this. I'll give you a few examples of what's coming. Somebody phoned up Bentley, the world's most prestigious luxury car making brand. They build handmade 12-cylinder, 6-litre, gas-guzzling giant luxury cars for the richest people on earth. Well, Bentley announced recently, and I covered it, we'll never make another petrol engine. We'll never make another car that uses petrol. Isn't that odd? that seems a little sudden, given that there's still a debate about climate change. There's no fucking debate. We're fucked. We can never burn. We should never burn any more fossil fuels on this planet if we value our lives. And so, do you think you poor schmucks will be allowed a Ford Fiesta if Prince Salman bin Salman can't have a fucking Bentley? No fucking way, dude. You will never have a petrol-powered Ford Fiesta again. I mean, in a short space of time. And furthermore, you will never do anything lest you be fined that commits the evil sin of producing a CO2 emission. What's coming is just like the coronavirus, but instead of being related to some sort of transmission of disease, all the eco-tyranny in the world will be brought to bear on every facet of your life. Every single facet. Manufacturers will be, banned from using fossil fuels. You will be banned from producing CO2. Your house will become some sort of, energy-limited prison for your new solar-powered lifestyle. If you're lucky, most people are going back to the Stone Age. You should thank your lucky stars you live inside the prison, where they've got to keep you all fat and fucking happy so you don't riot and kill the prison guards. So what's coming is eco-tyranny. What's coming is eco-tyranny for you personally and globally for countries that don't comply. And also, as we go through the eco-tyranny zeitgeist, you'll also be hearing loads more fantasy, make-believe, Walt Disney pish about how everything's going to be okay because we can solar power Christmas. And here's an example of that, right? This is a story, right? It says we're going to put giant mirrors in space to collect solar power. The final frontier for energy. Millions of British homes could be powered by a giant solar power station 24,000 miles up in space within 3 decades. That's too late, but never mind. Yeah, and it says, it says stuff about how solar power is the future. This pioneering study will help shine a light, get it, on the possibilities of space-based solar power system, which, if successful, could play an important role in reducing our emissions and meeting the UK's ambitious climate change targets. Reduce your ambitions, all right? Think stay safe, right? Stay safe will turn into reduce your emissions. Coronavirus just can't last forever, honestly. It's certainly not got any legs as far as climate change goes. And there'll be more about this green lie and the reduce your emissions story as we go through. So, just to return to that theme, the reason I'm so happy to see that story is because it opens the door for me to the future, where laws will be passed legitimizing control of every aspect of your life that relates to CO2 emissions. Every single aspect. Your work, you'll work from home. Home will become your prison. Nobody's going anywhere anymore. No transport, no travel. You'll be lucky if you have a solar powered link to your employer so that you can continue selling double glazing to old people in Sussex. The rest of us will be unemployed and lining up for food coupons at the Soylent Green factory. And you will be punished. Fines of £1,700 for not wearing a mask will be fines for thousands of pounds for farting, fines for thousands of pounds for burning rubbish in your garden, fines for thousands of pounds for having an unregulated, unlicensed lawnmower. Anyway, moving on. In the UK, Dominic Cummings has left Downing Street. He was going to stay till Christmas, but I believe that they had a special on at Barnard Castle. You know, they were having a picnic there. This has all got something apparently to do with Boris Johnson's girlfriend, Carrie. Where is she? Carrie Symonds. Dominic Cummings leaves today. His other advisor left yesterday. Apparently number 10 is in turmoil. And who knows exactly what it's all about. It's some kind of power struggle. It won't really make any difference. Is nobody bothered about unelected advisors? The journalists seem to be concerned about which unelected advisor is leaving or staying. My concern is, what are these fucking unelected advisors doing in my government? Who the fuck are these people? Not that I elected any of the government, but should I have voted? My concern would be, wait a minute, surely it's not democracy if unelected twats are telling our elected Prime Minister what to do. Is that the democracy you thought we were living in? It's not democracy I thought I was living in. Here's some non-news. This is interesting because of what it doesn't say. It's a whole 4 inches here. NHS staff on the front line are facing increased hostility and aggression. Chief Executive of a health board, Ross McGuffey Valdesouza, of the South Lanarkshire Health and Social Care Partnerships, issued a plea for the public to be kind to workers. The majority of the public have been very supportive of our staff, and we thank them for that, they said. How? What? By getting sick and coming in and letting you treat them? What the fuck have the public got to do with supporting the NHS? The only time I want to see or think about the NHS is if I crash my car and need my face stitched. I don't know. What the fuck are the public are very supportive. What they really are talking about here is some kind of coronavirus pish. It goes on. Sadly, however, we are hearing reports in recent weeks a minority have been engaging in behaviour and attitudes, towards some of our staff that are completely unacceptable. Imagine that includes saying things, telling the staff there's no need for any of these tyrannical restrictions and legislation over our lives. We wish to make it abundantly clear to those who would engage in any form of violence or aggression, it never has been tolerated and certainly will not be now. What aggression? Why don't they tell us what the fuck happened? This is like no news at all. I'm interested. What kind of aggression has there been? Paying to queue jump for the vaccine will be banned in the UK. The government has insisted there will be no queue jumping for COVID vaccine. Every single person, every single person in the UK will be offered the vaccine for free. Really? Wow, that's fascinating. You can get in front of me for nothing. You don't have to pay. No, just go on, go ahead. I'm gutted to hear that rich people can't jump the queue. But, you know, money can't buy you love, they say. And apparently it can't buy you an injection of Pfizer goo. Liverpool optimistic about fight back. Liverpool can break the chain of coronavirus infections, according to the mayor. Mr. Anderson said 90,000 people had been tested for coronavirus since last Friday when the army began offering tests. To everyone, regardless of whether they have symptoms. 20% of Liverpool residents have taken part, and 400 people have been tested positive. Out of the population of Liverpool, which is 500,000, that makes... I would say that makes about 2,000 people. That's about 2,000 people in Liverpool, out of a population of nearly 500,000. That's not quite the pandemic we're led to believe is happening, is it? 2,000 people out of 500,000, and none of them had symptoms. Almost none of them had symptoms, it says here, so they weren't feeling ill. 2,000 people who weren't feeling ill were discovered to have had something which didn't make them feel bad. By the army at a cost of millions to the taxpayer. No doubt they were all added to the database. Jab does not mean more about the coronavirus. Jab does not mean people can ignore restrictions. What? I thought we were all celebrating the vaccine. But wait, no. The vaccine does not mean people can ignore the restrictions? Really? Well, what the fuck's the point then? Why would I bother fucking having it? Why bother inventing it, making it, distributing it to every person in the country? The prospect of a vaccine risks offering false assurance. The announcement of an inoculation that is more than 90% effective against the virus. Let's just explore that statement there, shall we? Because earlier in the week when the vaccine was announced, it came with a number of journalistic caveats that went something like this. Actually, we don't know anything about the vaccine. Actually, we don't know anything about what they said it was 90% effective in doing. Actually, Pfizer have decided, because their boss said so, that they're not going to make any reports, that no strings are attached to their research, and they won't be giving an overview of what the virus is or how they acquired it or came by it or what it does. Explicitly, the boss of Pfizer said that. No public money was involved in our research. We're telling you fuck all. And journalists paraphrased that, saying, not much is known. Not much is known because Pfizer haven't fucking told us much. 90% effective could mean it's 90% effective in leaving a small red mark on your arm. We've created a vaccine which is 90% effective at injecting you. Well, we were actually looking for one that cured people, made them immune, and allowed us to get on with our lives. No, we don't have a vaccine like that. We've only got one that's 90% effective at leaving a small red mark on your arm. Oh, well, I'll gladly pay millions and millions for that then, said the government, as it bent over and let their ass be rimmed by a pharmaceutical company for something they wouldn't tell them anything about. And that there is no evidence, it is apparently no evidence it's effective in stopping the spread or making you safe from infection. Wow! These journalists, how do they get this fucking job? How do they get these fucking jobs? Professor Mickey, both the government and the company behind the vaccine, Pfizer journalism, Pfizer, will obviously want to talk very positively about it. Lie. But that runs a risk that people relax. Believe them. In terms of the current steps that everyone needs to take to stop the virus getting from one person to another. Well, it doesn't stop the virus getting from one person to another. I ask again, why would we pay for such a thing or have it? Are you shitting me? It's really important that everybody in a position of authority continues to stress the uncertainties and the need for people to obey the restrictions. Sieg Heil, mein Führer! Oh, sorry. The fuck. G20 agree new global debt plan. The Great Reset cometh. The Great Reset is related to the eco-tyranny I was talking about and the end of fossil fuel civilization, the end of industrial agriculture, the end of massive amounts of food, keeping 8 billion people fat and fucking happy on Earth. As I said, back to the Stone Age, you'll be lucky. The G20 have agreed that low-income countries hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic could get an extension on debt payment beyond 2021 and a write-off in the most severe cases. That's just like you're in a casino and they decide that, although you do owe some money, they'd rather you kept gaming. So, a debt write-off, as long as you stay at the table and keep gaming, like all these countries that they need to keep them in the world economy, they need to keep having them mobile phone contracts and mining ventures and franchises, debt, people borrowing money on credit cards at 36.9% APR to buy training shoes that fell off a production line in China for 50 cents and will only last them 6 months. And they pay £100 on their credit card and they're still paying it when the training shoe is choking a fucking dolphin in the ocean. I love the 21st century. I love it. Republicans in America hint that presidents should concede. Donald Trump's been abandoned by the Republican establishment and Fox News, and Whatever he wants to say or do, he should be allowed to get on with it from his fucking golf course. All right, here is more about the eco-tyranny that's coming. Amazon tribes ask Biden for help to save rainforests. Open brackets. Bomb Bolsonaro. Impose global United Nations power mongering over our country. Take control of our assets and government on the basis of that it's good for the planet. Okay, and if you didn't think that could happen, I draw your attention to Joe Biden is reported to be nominating Hillary Clinton for a role in his administration. The former Secretary of State is in the running to become the American ambassador to the United Nations. The United Nations, soon to be the global world government, imposing eco-tyranny on every nation on earth, backed by the awesome military power of a regulation-mad democratic government, quietly run in the background by the Clinton Foundation, fronted by a walking dead man who can barely mumble his name. I'm Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Am I Joe Biden? I am Joe Biden. I am Joe Biden. Welcome. And backing up this fucking march to the future are stories about the indigenous tribes calling on Joe Biden to stop Amazon destruction. The outcome of the US election means that far-right populist Mr. Bolsonaro, a Trump supporter, has lost a powerful ally. Now, although there's a big picture here. Right? The big picture of Amazon tribes people there. But actually, you don't get to hear what they're saying. Because most of the story is about how Mr. Bolsonaro will no longer have the support of the American government. For decades, the indigenous leaders in the Amazon have been battling to keep the rainforest from exploitation by oil companies. They hope the new president-elect will become an ally in the fight. I'm sure he will. Green laws and eco-tyranny. Eco-tyranny and green laws. Make our planet great again, urges Emmanuel Macron. Pretty rich coming from somebody who's a former Rothschild banker employee and a man who's been buying and selling people's asses in economic slavery before becoming president of the Republic. Yes, the French leader said that having Mr. Biden in the White House will reinforce the validity of the accord that aims to prevent catastrophic climate change that has been signed by nearly 200 countries. So, Clinton at the UN, running a United Nations administration backed by 200 countries, and Macron and other Rothschild puppets to enforce the kind of tyranny that mask-wearing coronavirus addicts are at the moment coming in their pants to live under. People are literally wetting themselves and demanding that there be more regulation of their lives. More regulation, more laws, more alleged togetherness, consensus. And you mustn't get me wrong. I'm actually in favor of dismantling industrial consumerism. I am. It's one of the things we need to do to ensure that we could say go on breathing, go on breeding, and go on being here as a species in the long term. Really, if you don't think so, tough shit. I'm not here to explain it to you, I'm here to express myself. Public prefers tree planting to green technology. This paper is actually, it's like they decided to write about the environment today. I don't know if there's any other news. The public would prefer the government to plant millions of trees to suck carbon out of the atmosphere. That's not what trees do. Rather than plough huge sums of money into carbon capture and storage technology in a blow to the Prime Minister's plan to kickstart a green industrial revolution. Well, a couple of things. First of all, you couldn't plant enough trees on the surface of Earth to remove the carbon we've put into the atmosphere. Anybody with a passing interest in the reprocessing of our atmosphere and the CO2 emissions from our industrial adventure, a quick sketch on the back of an envelope will tell you that trees are not the solution. They're not even part of the solution. So much CO2 went into the atmosphere for so long. You couldn't plant enough trees on the moon as well. Even if the moon were fertile and we planted and the moon became the forest moon, like some sort of Star Wars fantasy, that wouldn't be enough. Nope. And anyway, by the way, shh, don't tell anyone, but we're still pishing CO2 into the atmosphere. So what would be the fucking point? There's two things we need to do to re-engineer the atmosphere. One is stop putting the CO2 into the atmosphere, which at the moment, the graph is still going up. We haven't even leveled out. We haven't even reached the point. Is that enough fucking the atmosphere? Yeah, let's just keep it there. Let's just keep it right there. I think we've fucked the atmosphere just enough. That's 50 billion tons a year right there. We're still going up. Still going up. So, of course, removing carbon would be insanity. It would be like eating your own shit. Literally. Literally like eating your own shit. And that's why, to get to net zero, you're probably going away. Not you personally, just metaphorically. Yorkshire Ripper's dead, and I mean, who gives a fuck? Except to say that the police have apologised for... It's a bit like when Walt Disney now have little disclaimers at the start of their films. It said, this film was written at a time when, society was different. Some viewers may find this film not entertaining. I mean, offensive. Well, the police have kind of apologised because, as they say, we got a lot of things wrong then. Yeah, like ignoring a man you interviewed 9 times so he could go on to kill another 9 people. It says here, during the trial, Sir Michael Havers, the Attorney General who was prosecuting, said of the victims, some were prostitutes, but perhaps the saddest part of the case is that some were not. What is he saying there? What is he saying there? That those people who weren't prostitutes have missed some fun in their life? It was a shame they died before they could enjoy being a prostitute. Oh yes. It's a terrible tragedy when lives are cut so short that women will never know the joy of receiving 50 quid for going down on a man in the front seat of their car. I'm not sure what he's saying there, but it's not good either way. Pyongyang suspected of training dolphins for military missions. Fantastic. North Korea has turned to new aquatic allies in a bid to modernize its navy. It reports that the country is training dolphins to conduct military operations. The United Nations Naval Institute said satellite imagery of secretive totalitarian state apparatus appeared to show animals in pens off the west coast. There is a long history of America using animals in warfare, which includes training dolphins. The American Navy trained dolphins to take mines to ships, and they trained seals to dive down and search for submarines and or do other military operations. Even before that, just at the end of the Second World War, the Americans conducted an experiment whereby they strapped incendiary devices to bats, and they were going to release them over Japan. Because Japan had so many wooden houses, the bats would fly down from the planes, roost in the eaves of the wooden houses, and then all of the bats would explode in a fiery fireball, setting fire to potentially hundreds of thousands of Japanese homes. And the experiment proved so successful when they conducted it in the desert near California that they were actually planning a mission, but then they developed a nuclear weapon instead and decided to just spread radiation through our entire globe. Well, you know, what the fuck. So I hope this journalist doesn't think there's something novel or particularly new and exciting about humans being so fucked up. We will employ any means to kill and slaughter for our political masters, because it isn't. War elephants, anyone? All right, that appears to be the news. I look forward to the end of coronavirus and the beginning of an eco-tyranny even bigger, even greater, even longer, forever, stretching to the horizon, where your clothes have to be hand-knitted by organic fairies at the bottom of your garden, and you're only allowed to eat dirt that you grew yourself. I hope you have a great day. I'm off to have some fun. I'll see you soon.